Welcome to the Sound of Goshen. I'm your host, Vince Turner, and today's episode is The Sound of Success, brought to you in part by Everence. Ground your finances in values like care, hope, and sharing. Everence. Today we welcome DJ Lepper. He is the owner of the new Concrete Barber in downtown Goshen. And DJ, got to tell you that it's exciting to have new faces downtown in an old location. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about right now is just the historic aspect of you stepping in where Paul Scott had literally cut hair for generations of people. That's got to be kind of interesting as you've been standing there since you opened in January.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, and it's an honor to be able to keep that tradition going in that space. And one that I was one of those generations. I went there with my grandpa to get my hair cut as a kid, and so that's where my first memory of a barbershop was. So it's kind of surreal sometimes to know that I'm continuing the tradition on the other side of the chair now.
But that's really interesting. The fact that we talk about generations in small business, especially downtown, and you're now a part of that. The generations. You said your grandfather first took you in where Paul Scott cut your hair and got you interested in barbering, and a couple decades later, here you are standing right there. But let me peel back the clock just a little bit. You started your working days or your working career pouring concrete, hence the name Concrete Barber. While you're doing that, what got you interested in coming back into hairstyling and barbering and that kind of thing?
Barbering was never anything on my radar, and it wasn't until 2010 when I deployed to Afghanistan. A friend of mine had just finished barber school, and he cut everybody's hair the entire deployment, and that it was the first time it was like a reality to me as something someone could do. And so that planted the seed, and about 4 years later I decided to go down that route.
But let me ask you a little bit about that. You went to Afghanistan. What branch of the service were you part of?
In the Marines.
You were in the Marines. So you've got a buddy who's just cutting hair for a bunch of jarheads, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So but was there a camaraderie that you had a sense of that, in the midst of all this, literally the bombs going off around you in Afghanistan, but in the midst of this, it was really kind of old-fashioned barber. You just sat around, as fellow Marines, and somebody's cutting your hair and you're chit-chatting and doing those kind of things. That had to kind of open your eyes to a whole different thing, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, because our two options were to pay him to hang out with him in the barracks or to spend our time at the PX barber. And so, yeah, absolutely, the camaraderie with the platoon and everybody in the barracks getting our haircut there's something really cool about that.
What was it like with the interaction? Because I imagine in a Marine setting especially, the interaction, the conversation, while you're standing behind someone cutting the hair, while you're in the chair getting your hair cut, and then the guy's standing around or sitting around waiting. It kind of like, the old style movies where everybody, you're either a bartender or a barber hears all of your stories. And that had to kind of set the table for you a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the idea of the brotherhood and having that atmosphere and bringing it back to, I guess, back home. And pouring concrete and having a similar type of relationship with the trades guys that I worked with, it just all kind of clicked.
So when you're standing there, what made you believe that this is something that you'd want to make your next venture in life?
It was inside. It was out of the weather, and yeah, it was again like that, serving people and having that like brotherhood of guys and people.
So you came back and so tell us the steps you took in order to get to where you are now from that standpoint.
First I found out the Montgomery GI Bill could help pay for barber school, and then also give me a stipend to get to school.
Okay.
And so that let me take the time off of work to be able to go to night class. So first I had to set that up. That took, 6 or 8 months.
Okay.
And then I had to do 18 months of barber school in Fort Wayne.
Now you were at Ravenscroft in Fort Wayne, right?
Yep.
Okay. Very famous school.
Yeah, a lot of people have gone through there. It's, it was a cool place. So I drove to Fort Wayne every night for 5 nights a week. And I would pour concrete during the day. And then after I graduated there, I started at New Image Salon here at 206 North Main Street.
Okay.
And I was in there for 18 months pouring concrete and cutting hair in the evenings. And then in December 2018, we went full-time haircutting.
Mm-hmm. And that was really across the street from Paul's Barbershop, right?
No, that was in New Image.
Oh, okay, New Image. Okay.
And we did that for, I think, about a year,
Okay.
a year and a half. And then we moved across the street at 111B underneath Common Spirits.
Okay.
And we were in there for about 2 years.
So did you ever pop up the steps during a break or after work or whatever and look across the street and say, I might be over there someday?
Yeah, it did. And I did. And I could see him over there through my window down in the basement even. And even when I started this journey, I pictured myself in that location. Mm-hmm. And for a couple different reasons over the years, I always felt like it was never going to be a reality.
Yeah.
And
then lo and behold.
Yeah.
So tell me about your relationship then with Paul after you became a barber. What was that like?
After I became, he was already retired after I became a barber, so we didn't have much interaction.
Okay.
There were some other people that was keeping the shop going, and then his son, Junior, was keeping it going when he was here. And
okay.
Yeah, so I just kind of realized that I had to put my head down and learn to become a barber and learn how to run my business. And before I could even picture going into or buying a barber shop that was established like that.
Well, that had to have been a big step because you're going from essentially renting a space or leasing a space or whatever to being the guy who has the space. That's a big step.
Right. It was a lot. And in 2017, I graduated barber school, got married, and had a baby. And so there's just a lot on my plate.
Yeah, no stress in your life, right?
Yeah. So it's like, okay, what's really important here? How quickly I move into a barber shop, or how quickly we keep the family going? And the family's important to me.
So before asking you a little bit about establishing your business, I got to ask you this, because there was a time when you poured concrete and cut hair all on the same day. That just seems like an entirely different set of muscles.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And that's, even today, I find myself using my fingers individually, where years ago I would use my hand as a wrist because I was used to holding a trowel or a hammer. And it's those small things that were different. But in the same sense, barbering and concrete are the same, because the comb is a screed board, and different guards are either a trowel or a hand float or a different way of working the material.
Well, that's an interesting way of painting that picture. That the skill sets are in many ways the same.
Yeah. And just like a driveway is a flat thing on a round shape, the earth, a haircut is a more or less flat square shape on a round or globe.
Oh, wow.
Or mine with different divots and things. And yeah, it's all angles.
And synergy is amazing. It really is. So there are a lot of similarities in your story. I have a good friend, Doug Schaefer, who has Doug's Sports Cut. And ironically, he is leaving the business during the course of this year while you're coming into the business. But the similarities for his story and your story are that, here's a guy who at one point he's selling for a medical device industry and decides, I want that camaraderie of the barbershop again. And here you are pouring concrete, and you've said, I liked what I saw in Afghanistan, and I want that camaraderie of the barbershop. There's something to be said for that one-person shop, that imagination that suddenly becomes a part of downtown for you. Have you had conversations with Doug at all in terms of what it's like to run the business? Or
not a whole lot. I've kind of watched from a distance, and it's and like I went there as a kid a few times, and I always remember his Sports Illustrated picture he has up there, and that stood out to me. And so he's influenced me in that way, and he told me always save a haircut and put it into an IRA and to prepare yourself, and I think that's wise to listen to.
Yeah.
And the other way he's influenced me is I'm into collecting NFTs, and I hope to put Goshen on the map in a similar way in that world that he did with baseball cards in
okay.
in the 90s.
Yeah, so there'll be another reason for someone to visit the barber shop other than to get the haircut, which then generates foot traffic and conversation and everything else.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me about cutting hair. Spending 18 months at Ravenscroft and then coming back here and getting practical experience. What's the learning curve? Because I can't picture anything creating more tension than making a mistake on somebody's hair and then having them be patient about it. I mean, it's not like somebody, put mustard on the hamburger when you wanted ketchup or gave you the wrong change or whatever. You're dealing with people who in the spur of the moment are going to go, hey, wait a minute. How did you learn to relax while doing that? Because it is tense.
Yeah, and that's hard. And to today, that's still hard. And so I had to learn how to build business around things that, one, I was comfortable and how I could best serve the people that I was seeing. And so part of it was, one, learning how to communicate to people, learning what was comfortable for myself, and then also knowing that I had the resources in the internet to go and find answers for things I didn't have.
Okay.
So if I could tell a person, I don't know how to do this now, so this is the way I'm going to be safe about this haircut, but I'm going to go find the answer for you, and if you give me another opportunity, I'll be better next time.
So you've been through this. You've been through people who are a little disappointed about the haircut.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm aware enough to know when I'm not doing the best haircut or delivering on what they expected of their service.
Is there a difference in customers in terms of you get people that they know what they want and they've wanted the same thing for 5 and 10 and 15 years. I plead guilty for that. Or other people who say, hey, I want something different. I mean, do you get customers on both ends of that spectrum?
Yeah, you do. And especially early on, taking everybody and until you kind of find your groove or find your lane of who you're going to serve and how you're going to serve them.
Okay. So now, are you able at this point now, because you've got enough experience, where you can sit with somebody who maybe doesn't necessarily know what they want, and you can kind of walk through with them?
Yeah, I feel like I can, through like asking them what they want most out of their haircuts or what they've been most disappointed with haircuts in the past.
Yeah, and then trying to get them, because hair now has become, well, I guess it always has been, but even more so now, it's kind of a brand. It's kind of a statement. I mean, I don't think you're going to make anybody look like The Weeknd when they're walking out of your shop, but you are going to give some people a little bit of a different look.
Right. And a lot of my customers, kind of true to the brand, are a functional blue collar kind of, they want a haircut they can put their motorcycle helmet on or their stocking cap on and take it off, and it still works and it's easy. So
there's a certain reality in Concrete Barber.
Yeah.
You are speaking to the blue collar, the working people, and those kind of things.
Yeah, it's where I came from. It's how I can be most, I guess, natural in that environment, because I'm not a stylist, and I'm not able to just take a blank canvas and see how to create a blank style from someone, and I know that about myself. So I'd rather be on time and provide a quick functional haircut that someone needs to get in and out with.
Yeah. DJ, I got to ask too about, you're dealing with people, and again, we talk about brands, we talk about emotions, we talk about people who are looking in the mirror, so on and so forth. Special occasions, that's got to be kind of a highlight for you. It's whether you're getting somebody ready for a wedding, prom's coming up, prom weekend or whatever the case may be. You get to be a part of that process as well. Maybe the excitement of a 17-year-old's going to prom for the first time, and you're going to make him look good before he goes out and sees that special girl.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to hear that excitement and hear what they're going to do and how they're excited about their plans for that evening. And it's an honor to be able that they chose me to be able to get them ready.
That's neat.
For that night and share it.
That's neat.
Yeah, with me.
What was the hardest part about deciding, I'm going to do this, when you decided to go out on your own to buy a building and say, I'm gonna go forward?
I think the hardest part was initially like making the change from concrete to barbering.
Okay.
Because once I made that change, the only acceptable goal was to end up where I'm at. now. So I guess in between that, to answer your question, being patient is knowing where the goal was and actually getting there and knowing how to go through those.
To be in an established place like Paul Scott Barber, that's got to be a double-edged sword. There are going to be people who walk in expecting what was always there, but at the same time, there are going to be people who walk in because it was there, and you have the advantage of people are familiar with that. How do you balance that? How do you grow but while also honoring the tradition of what's been there for such a long time?
And I think that's my journey had to prepare me to this because I do things so differently and the times are so differently. And I honor him by treating people the same way that he did. You could respectfully tell someone, that's just not how it's going to be.
Yeah.
And it's just what it is. And it's,
Yeah. If those walls could talk, they could tell you some great stories.
Oh my gosh.
But then you're going to get to put some great stories of your own together over these next couple of years. A couple of quick things to wrap things up. First of all, what do you like about being downtown? What's the vibe of downtown do for you and the excitement of having a small business?
I just think it's like the barbershop being that staple community place in downtown is really cool to me. And to feel like I'm like the next generation of that. And to have that big window to see the courthouse and to see what's going on and to be part of the community now instead of being in a corner in a salon or in a basement location.
And people walking by and doing those kind of things. So, and I saved my favorite question for last only because I don't want you to hurt me in the middle of the program. But I asked you this question before and I loved your answer. People are going to see pictures of you.
Okay.
It's an audio podcast, but we're gonna have pictures of you and everything else on the website, and they're gonna look and go, "Wait a minute, you're a barber," and your answer to that is,
"Yeah, I live vicariously through all you with hair, and I know how important your hair is. So I do my best to take care of it and keep it tip top shape."
That's such a fabulous answer. You got to put that on the wall at the barber shop. Hey, DJ, best of luck to you. Thanks for being with us. And, as always, Semper Fi.
Hey, Semper Fi. Thank you.
Our thanks to DJ Lepper of Concrete Barber. Sound of the Economy is brought to you in part by Everence and is a presentation of the Goshen Chamber of Commerce. I'm your host, Vince Turner. Thank you for joining us.